Speaking arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm high like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant, tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will...
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Pinky, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, my man. March 28th, hanging with my boy. How you doing tonight?
Oh, it's good, buddy. It was a long day, but we're here now.
I hear that. I hear that. Well, always a pleasure to be hanging out with you, my guy, and getting to discuss and interact and go through the sports nonsense and drink some whiskey.
I was listening to the 5280 podcast right before us, which I usually try to check out since they're right before us.
Definitely.
How they filled an hour of nothing but Bronco talk is just, it's awesome that they can do that. That's tough. You know, I guess there's a couple things that came out in the last couple days that like were worth kind of talking about, but over these next couple weeks, it's going to get really bare to find things to talk about. So,
I mean, I feel like we could do it. I think you would just hate me by the end of it.
Like I said, you don't bring the same attitude with the Broncos that you do with Nebraska. So,
I mean, it's
and Nebraska's let you down 3 times as long. So,
I think I try to. I do try to, but I think with Nebraska, it's I can rejuvenate that hope every year because of turnover and things of that nature. With the Broncos, we kind of get stuck with what we have, and it's not as easy to turn over and change in the NFL as it is in college. So it's hard for that hope to spring eternal at the start of every season when I see the same mistake repeating itself yet again. So, I also, it's easier for me to be objective with the Broncos than it is for me to be objective with the Huskers. And I openly admit that. I've always admitted that. I try to be objective when it comes to my Huskers. It's just not as easy. It's a little bit easier with the Broncos for me to do so. So, sorry, buddy.
It's okay. We'll get that Bears jersey for you. No problem, buddy. We'll get there.
As long as it says Fields on the back, my boy's going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you heard that. Hey, I am, I'm supporting him today. I got got some Broncos gear on today. It felt appropriate. Sean Payton coming out spitting some truth. So as long as he's going to do that, I'm good with listening.
Our boy Ray in the house.
Ray, how you doing, my guy?
Man, I tell you, brother, little nonsense. I went and saw John Wick 4. That's a beautiful film, man. That is, if you love violence, that's the movie for you. That is the movie. Oh man, it's there's not a lot of downtime in that movie. It's 2 hours and 49 minutes as well, and it's fantastic. If you like John Wick, I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't like John Wick. Even my mom likes John Wick, for God's sakes. So it's a fantastic movie. It is Pinky approved, 2 thumbs up, hashtagged, starred. I don't know how much more I can put on there. I mean, not that I've seen a lot of movies so far this year, but absolutely the best movie I've seen so far this year. So.
I mean, I would have been blown away and amazed and extremely disappointed if that wasn't Pinky approved. The first 3 have all been good, and I wouldn't say there's a bad movie. You might have one that you like more than the others, but the first 3, there's not a bad one.
Well, you can tell, like, on 1, they were trying things out. 2, the story is pretty weak. 3, the story was better developed. And then 4, it puts it all together.
Well, you know what they're doing, right? The 5 movies and what they represent.
The 4 movies.
No, there's going to be 5 total.
If they can get it done. They're not so sure.
No, everything I've read is that was the plan from the very beginning, and it's to show the 5 stages of grief. That was the whole point of the series. It's been well stated by the director.
Well, the director,
he's going to do 5 movies to show the 5. Not the direct. I don't even know what he is anymore because I know he hasn't directed all of them. But the guy who came up with the John Wick, his whole thing was he's going to do 5 movies because he's going to show the 5 stages of grief. So each movie is one of those stages of grief.
I have not heard that. I did a lot of research.
It's super interesting. Go look it up. I the first time I saw it, I was blown away. So I dug into it a little more, and it adds up. It totally works.
Avatar, what do you mean here? Nobody. What about nobody? What are we talking about? Let me know. We were talking about John Wick.
We're talking about Mr. Nobody. There's a lot of Mr. Nobodies out there. Which Mr. Nobody?
Or that movie Nobody, which was good too. I enjoyed that movie as well.
I have not seen that one yet, but you did say that was worth checking out as well, so I will eventually.
That's a pretty fun John Wick-esque movie.
I'm so far behind in everything.
Probably not on the same level, but it's for what they did was pretty good. And,
I realized today that I'm super behind on James Bond's. All of a sudden, Spectre came out on TV, and I go, "Oh, haven't seen this one," and immediately had to turn it off because I'm not going to sit there and watch half of it and not be able to finish it. So I had to turn that off real quick because I was like, "Yep, haven't seen this one. Not sure how I missed it."
You didn't see Spectre?
Not yet, apparently, because I know for sure I hadn't seen it. As soon as it got to a specific scene, about 15 minutes in, I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I remember wanting to see this and I haven't." So I'm behind on a lot.
Was Spectre before or after Skyfall?
I think it's before. Skyfall's a newer one, right?
Skyfall was the best one. The newest one was No Time to Die.
Which one's Skyfall about? Maybe I haven't seen that one either. Maybe I'm really far behind.
Oh, Skyfall is fantastic.
Is that the one with Javier Bardem?
Man, it's making me go all the way back. I don't want the whole thing. I just want the Daniel Craig ones. Let's see. We got Skyfall, and then Spectre, and then No Time to Die.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
Skyfall because that's the Javier Bardem as the bad guy, and he's going after M, and right, that's the one.
Yeah. That one's fantastic as well.
Spectre's the one with why am I drawing a blank on his name now?
Christopher Waltz.
Yes, I love him. So as soon as I saw him, it's like in the first 15 minutes, he appears, and I go, oh no, I haven't seen this one because I remember him. I remember watching him. So he plays one of the best villains in movie cinema history in Inglourious Basterds.
No, I mean, I don't even know if he's the villain.
He's definitely the villain.
I mean, the Nazis are the villains. I just think
and he's like one of the lead Nazis, and then by the end, he's like trying to make deals so that he doesn't get his nuts chopped off. Like,
right?
It's pretty cool too. I mean, when you really think about it, the way he is so cordial, and you almost want to like him, and then you have to remind yourself he's a Nazi general. Like, yeah, super bad dude.
I do love that movie. That is a good one. But yeah,
a good one.
John Wick's fantastic. Go out and see it in theaters, big screen. It's an experience. They do a whole scene from like he's going through a building, and you're getting the over the top of him going in and out of rooms. It is gorgeous the way they did it, because you're just seeing him walk in between rooms, and you're like, oh, here's a guy coming. Oh, he dead. Nope, he dead. Like, and just to see him kind of go through that is really cool from that bird's eye perspective.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, they've always done good cinematography with those John Wick movies. The cinematography has always been spot on and solid.
They definitely upped the ante, and it came out great. And I know Keanu said he would do another one as long as the guy who took over, if they could get him to do another one, then he'd be in. So
I'm telling you, man, based on everything I read before this, it was after the third. I don't think they'd even started production on the fourth. Is when I first heard that theory and went in research. And there's an interview that I remember reading with the guy who created John Wick that said that's the plan, is to do 5 because it's the 5 stages of grief, and to basically show him from start to finish going through those 5 stages. And each movie represents those stages. So, it's a cool concept. Hopefully they do it and finish it out. So we'll see. But I'm glad to hear it's Pinky approved, and I'll be checking that one out for sure.
At the moment, they're calling this one the final installment at the moment. So we will see. I'm excited for Dungeons and Dragons this weekend. I think that looks really fun as well. So hopefully,
I hope it doesn't come off as cheesy and corny, because a lot of the previews I've seen just make it look dumb. So I'm hoping that
I think it looks hilarious. I enjoy it. Chris Pine, I like Chris Pine. So, and I like some of the other guys that got in it. So I'm excited. That should be fun this weekend. I'm trying to think. We've just finished Last of Us, finished House of Dragon. There's a couple other things that got done, but excited to see. I'm waiting for Ted Lasso to get finished up so I can watch season 3 of that, and Mandalorian. So I heard Mando's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll start it here soon. You know how I feel about Star Wars, so anything that adds to that universe, I am all for. So definitely excited to watch that new season. Just haven't gotten to it yet. There's been enough sports to maintain my free time. So, dead season's coming up here shortly, where I'll have a lot more time to start knocking that stuff out.
Oh man, we're almost there for you, buddy. You were almost there. So
not quite. There's still plenty to go through.
Any nonsense you had, my man?
No. really. No, not a whole lot of nonsense over here.
All right. Well, lead us into the chaos, my man. Some shit went down.
Dude, look, I'm gonna give a public service announcement, and I need people to listen. I need them to listen closely. If you're agreeing with the national media when they say it's bad for the sports to not have the main competitors in it because the TV ratings dip, you're playing into the machine's hand. It's not good. It's not good that it's always the Lakers and the Celtics. It's not good that it's always the Yankees and the Dodgers. All that creates is bandwagon. And bandwagon is stupid. It's awful. It's terrible. Don't allow it. And you know how you don't allow that? You support the chaos. And when it happens, you praise it, right? You glorify it. You go out of your way to make sure people know it's happening. And in this March Madness, I told you to be ready for it. I said it feels like chalk, which means the chaos is getting ready to ensue. And we have gotten one of the most chaotic, true March Madnesses that we have seen in years. And I love every minute of it. I cannot get enough of it.
You know, as a fan of a blue blood, I'm actually just happy that nobody else is in there that like would be considered a blue blood. So I'm excited about that. Maybe that makes me.
We're going to go over this again. There are 4 blue bloods. This isn't like new people come in because they're good. They start getting put into that category. There are 4 blue bloods. That's it.
I guess UConn's kind of a blue blood, in my opinion.
Now, you can, if you want to create a new category and call it something else, and we start running with that, I'm good with that. But there are 4 blue bloods, Peaky. That's it. And they are who they are for a reason. Okay?
Okay, so let me go through my list of the teams that I think of. Obviously, Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, UNC, UCLA, Arizona, UConn, because UConn over the last 20 years has been pretty successful as a program. They've got a championship. The women's has a couple championships.
Yeah, they've got a few.
So I put them in that level. To me, the teams that are like consistently there, to me, I start to feel like, okay, they've gotten into this, conversation. Are they, Duke or Kansas or Kentucky or UNC? No, but are they getting there consistency wise? Yes.
I get where you're coming from, and I've always thought UCLA should be included in that group of 4. They are the adopted blue blood as far as I'm concerned because of what John Wooden did and the fact that they're not
from the West Coast, right?
My mind. That's the only reason they're not in there. I mean, let's be honest. And the only reason Kansas is included is because they started it all. I mean, that's where, Naismith went and coached. So there's a reason Kansas is a part of that. And they're not on the East Coast. There's a reason. So UCLA should have always been included. I don't know why they're not.
So I get what people are saying with the ratings because it is a factor. Like, obviously, there's not a huge fan base that's tuning in for San Diego State basketball or Florida Atlantic basketball. And then on the other side, you've got, Miami and UConn. They're just not huge basketball, draws. So I get it, but that's the whole fun of it, man. Like,
why I love it so much.
San Diego, like, I am rooting for a San Diego State Miami matchup. You've got arguably one of the best defensive clubs in the country against one of the best offensive clubs in the country, and boom, have them clash. To me, that's just offense versus defense. Like, that's that that matchup that people like to see like who wins out, right? So
let me throw you some stats some public information, if you will, to really set off how amazing and crazy this has been. For the first time in the history of the tournament, first time in the history of this tournament, keep that in mind. This has been going on for decades, right? I mean, we can go way, way back, but the modern era, if you want to say it, since the field really expanded, is about 84, I want to say. But you can go back 60s to the 40s to the 30s. This is the first time in NCAA tournament history that the Final Four has not featured a 1, 2, or 3 seed. Not all of them, just at least one of those. A top 3 seed from each side of the bracket. There's always been at least a top 3 seed in the Final Four. It didn't happen this year. UConn is the highest at a 4 seed. Okay? That's never happened. That's crazy. That's crazy. On top of that, check this out. This is even more mind-blowing to me if you really think about it big picture. This is the first time in the tournament's history that we haven't had since the tournament began seeding in '79 is the date that the article goes with, that we haven't had at least one McDonald's All-American in the Final Four. So every year, the best high school basketball players get invited to the McDonald's All-American game. And up until this year, there's always been at least one McDonald's All-American in the Final Four. Doesn't exist this year. Does not exist. Now, I think there's a lot of factors to that. Just kind of a couple quick hits, I will say. Part of it is COVID. Guys stayed in, used some of their extra eligibility. So we have some guys that are a little bit older. You get more junior seniors, which has allowed some of these teams to advance. NIL has played a little bit of a factor. Some of these guys are making money that way, so they don't necessarily have to test their luck in the NBA lottery. And then some of it is just luck of the draw on the bounce this year, the way that it happened that allowed some of these teams to advance. San Diego State in 2020, when COVID hit and that tournament got canceled, a week before it was about to kick off. I'm sorry, 2021?
No, it was 2020. They were going to be a 1 seed, is I think where you're going.
Not just a 1 seed. They were projected to be the number 1 overall seed for the entire tournament. That's how good this program is, and they've kind of gone under the radar. So while they might be crazy defensively and they're not bringing a ton of offense, this isn't unexpected in the sense that this is a program coming out of nowhere. These guys have been building for years, and they're finally getting to the point where they're consistent and able to compete at the highest level regularly.
And they do have 8 or 9 seniors on their squad right now. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, that helped. Absolutely, that helped. You got an FAU with a ton of juniors and seniors, one of the best offensive powerhouses in the tournament. You've got a Miami team that kind of does a little bit of everything good, but not great. And then you've got UConn. Now, here's a crazy stat about UConn. 3 of their 4 national championships, they've won in Texas. Where is this year's Final Four being held? Houston, Texas. So UConn was already a favorite before the tournament even started. A lot of people had them in the Final Four and winning it. Now they're there. They are, I won't say head and shoulders above everybody else, but they are the best team remaining. And they play both ends of the court well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes down. I will say I am a big Creighton fan. I'm from Nebraska. I don't deny any of that. Creighton is the basketball team. That game was bonkers. And I will say a couple things about the end of that game. One, I feel like Creighton lost that game more so than San Diego State won the game. Now, props to San Diego State because they took one of the top offenses in the nation and shut them down. So more power to San Diego State for being able to do that. But Creighton had their moments, and I feel like they got little timid, a little lackadaisical, and they blew their opportunities when it mattered most, and they could have put San Diego State out of the game. As far as that final whistle goes, that allowed San Diego State to go to the line with basically no time remaining and ice it, it was a foul. When I saw it live, I said bad call. When I saw the replay and he hip checked him and kind of grabbed the hip, that's a foul. You cannot do that. So I agree with the call in that sense. What I don't agree with, and I have heard a lot of talking heads speak on this, the way the game was officiated from the very beginning, that play was being allowed to go. They were allowing them to play. They were allowing a little bit more physicality throughout the game. So in that sense, if the refs are going to allow that play for the entire game, you cannot make that call in the last seconds of the game, regardless of if it's a foul or not. So I'm very torn in that sense because it is a foul. So it's not a bad whistle. But when you're swallowing your whistle on those plays for the entire game and then you decide to call it at the end of the game, it makes it hard to stomach.
So basically like the same thing that happened in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Honestly. So the only difference why the Super Bowl maybe should have been let go a little bit more so than the Creighton-San Diego State call, Juju wasn't in the act of catching the ball when that foul was made. Whereas the San Diego State player, Trammell, was in the act of shooting. And so if you're in the act of shooting, it makes it a little bit harder to swallow that whistle because it does affect that play more severely than, say, a hold on the beginning of a route being run when the ball is not in the air. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, tough call. But like I said, I do feel like Creighton blew their opportunities more so than San Diego took advantage of winning the game. And I don't want to take away anything from San Diego State. I hate that it comes out that way because I think they played a great game. And their defense caused Creighton to play the way they did. I just felt like Creighton could have been a little bit more patient in some of their offensive sets. They got a little lazy on defense at times, and I don't feel like they were as fully invested in some of that game as they needed to be. Like they almost thought like we'll be able to turn it on at some point and kind of pull away, and they just didn't because San Diego State didn't allow them to. But great game. That one's going to hurt Creighton fans for a while. With the FAU game, I mean, they came out and just kind of dominated. FAU is rolling right now, and they look good. So it's going to be fun to watch that offensive versus defensive matchup, like you said. And me, people like to use that cliche defense wins championships, and I think that's bullshit because as far as I'm concerned, a great offense will always beat a great defense because you have the advantage. You know what you're doing, and the defense doesn't. So a great offense should always win those matchups, in my opinion, and I will never change that thought. So, in my opinion, FAU has the advantage. Will they stay focused enough and play their game regardless of what San Diego State comes out and does? I don't know. Miami coming back from, I think it was 12 down, 14 down. Yeah, you can throw up your U tonight, my man. I'll let you throw up your U tonight.
The wife comments and she's like, Miami won. Does that mean you're going to get a Miami tattoo for the podcast this year? And I was like, no.
No, we're not on that level. We're not on that level with Miami.
That's not how that works.
For them to come back against Texas, who I had picked to go to the final, that was amazing. 17 years to the day that Larinaga took, George Mason to the Final Four. He's now taken Miami to the Final Four, so that's a pretty cool story. And then UConn. I mean, they have just dominated this tournament from start to finish this far. And they are, like I said, the odds-on favorites. So, look, I've got some reasons that I'm pulling for UConn, mostly because it's Pinky's money invested on me, and I got to make sure that I make him look good for doing such and listening to me. So I'm hoping UConn wins that game. So we'll see what happens. But I think this Final Four and these two matchups are going to be a lot more exciting than maybe the media wants to give it credit because, like I said, there's not the blue bloods. There's not the big names in it. But to me, that makes it even more special.
Well,
And this is in my top 3 favorite tournaments since I've been alive long enough to know what's happening and remember them. So I've been fully invested. Bring the madness. I would love this every year if it happened.
everybody's bracket is just straight up garbage. Garbage. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, nobody's good. Nobody's got a good bracket.
And I'm pretty sure, yeah. Somehow this one guy actually had Miami going to the finals. Crazy enough.
Yeah, well, I had Creighton going to the finals, and it was looking pretty solid there for a little bit, and then it crumbled miserably. So
He had Miami. He had Miami versus Purdue in the finals.
there was 32. I think it was 32 brackets on the ESPN Bracket Challenge. 32 people out of it was like 200 plus million or something like that predicted the Final Four. It's like a 0.0008% or something like that. Crazy.
They should give all those people money because there's no way that that's
It's
normal.
wild. 4 of them. And I heard that stat because listen to Dan Patrick in the mornings, and one of Dan Patrick's Danettes, one of the spouses for the Danettes, actually was one of the 32 that picked the Final Four correctly. And they were talking with her. They're like, "How'd you do it? What? I mean, you're one of the best basketball experts in the country now. So how'd you do it?" And she's like, "Well, I went with places I've lived and being distracted by my children while I was filling it out. That's the strategy, Dan." And I was like, "Sounds about right. Yep, that'll do it."
That's perfection. Perfection. It's crazy. So yeah, if Miami loses to UConn, you win. If Miami wins, you lose. So
Well, let's go UConn, baby. Let's go UConn.
yeah, I can root for that.
Cheers to the 4 teams that got in. Yeah, right. So more power to you guys. I hope we start seeing more tournaments like this. The parity is good for college basketball. I don't care what anybody says. It's what the tournament was meant for. That anybody at any time has a chance. And for all those people out there saying, "Yeah, well, it's not the best team that won," I don't give a shit, and you shut your goddamn mouth. Okay, shut your mouth right now, because it's not built to see the best team win. It's built to see who's the best team on that day that can advance. That's what it's about.
It's the same thing with the NFL playoffs, man. The best team doesn't always win the Super Bowl. The best team that day wins the Super Bowl, but that may not have been the best team of the entire, season. But there's just so many things that go into it.
I am there for it. Bring it. Bring it.
Oh, all right. You done with some chaos? You ready to talk some?
We're good with chaos.
Our man Bubba was already wanting to.
I know. I saw him, and we're going to get into that. On a quick note, before we move into that real fast, Saturday is the Final Four. Tip starts at roughly 4 p.m. Mountain. And guys, look, nonsense is part of our name for a reason. And it doesn't just mean nonsense within sports. It doesn't just mean nonsense when we talk about movies or anything. It means anything nonsense, we're all for it. And one of the big things that's nonsense, and we are all for it, is the ultimate soap opera, which is the WWE. WrestleMania is this weekend, baby. So, hey, get one TV going with the Final Four, get your other TV going with WrestleMania, pour yourself a little two-finger, and enjoy it. Enjoy the storytelling. Enjoy the sports. Enjoy the fake wrestling. We know it's fake. Just enjoy it. It's fun. Let it happen.
WrestleMania is a good time. They usually try to ratchet that up to 11. So
hell yeah. Let it go. Pinky and I are going to be hanging out watching it. We're going to be drinking a little whiskey and enjoying ourselves. You do the same. There's nothing wrong with it. If somebody says it's fake, tell them I know it's fake. But, man, look at the script they just wrote. It's phenomenal.
Well, hopefully it has Roman Reigns losing this weekend.
Yeah, let's hope the bloodline gets finally broken apart, right? Let's hope. Let's hope that happens.
Looks like it starts at 5:30 on Saturday. So it probably starts
so
at 6.
We'll have big TV on, and we'll have a little TV on, and we'll be watching both, and we'll be flipping back and forth and moving it around, and we'll just be enjoying ourselves.
It's going to be a good day. Good day.
Now we can transition to the Premier League of what is basketball in the NBA.
This is good, Bubba. This is good. Sacramento Kings fans have been playoff watch for the last two nights. They even had everybody got T-shirts last night, I think. The whole arena. It was awesome. Again, they lost and did not make the playoffs yet by losing to the Timberwolves, but it's inevitable. They're going to make it in for the first time since 2005.
16 years, I think it is.
Yeah.
17 years, something like that.
Our buddy Greg, who is a co-owner of the Kings Herald that writes about the Sacramento Kings, they did an AC/DC kind of logo, Sac California Kings t-shirt that has all of the losing season straight, all the records printed on the back, like almost like tour dates, right? And that shirt is going to no longer be valid. It's no longer going to be. They're going to kill that because they've actually played pretty damn good basketball this year. Sabonis has been awesome, man.
That trade that they made with Indiana, where they swapped basically. There are some other pieces, but basically they swapped Sabonis, or they swapped Halliburton and Buddy Hield for Sabonis.
It's worked out.
It paid off for both teams. It was actually a really good trade for both teams, and Sacramento needed to make that. They had more guards than they needed. They needed a front court. Sabonis is a rising star, and I don't think casual fans of the game quite understand that yet. But anybody who follows NBA on a regular basis knows what he is and what he's about.
I think he's
not even a poor man's Jokic. At this point, he's a I don't want to word this. He's a middle income. He's a middle income version of Jokic right now.
He is second in triple doubles this season.
I think
he's got 15 or 16.
Plays both ends of the floor really well. He's athletic. He's got a smooth lefty. And look, anybody that doesn't know, his dad Arvydas Sabonis, if he had come to the NBA earlier and in his prime, he'd be a Hall of Famer. And he would be talked about as one of the all-time great centers in NBA history. But because he came over from Europe so late in his career, we got glimpses, we got flashes of what he could have been. But his dad had one of the best vision and touches that I've ever seen. And I'm not just talking for a big man. I'm talking in the game, period, regardless of position. His dad was phenomenal with his vision. And he's obviously passed that down to his son on ways to see the game and think about it and look for it. So, Domantas Sabonis is money, and he's been a big, big pickup for Sacramento. Now, I'm going to throw a little water on this party because I love seeing Sacramento do well. I love Sacramento back in the day with Chris Webber and White Chocolate and Mike Bibby and Peja Stojakovic, and I could go on. Loved them back then. They just ran into a Lakers team with Kobe and Shaq and Robert Horry and Phil Jackson. It's just bad timing, unfortunately. But Sacramento fans are getting a little cocky for my liking. For not doing anything for a very long time. This shouting in people's faces about light the beam and we're going to dominate and let's slow down. Nuggets fans don't even talk like that. All right. And Nuggets fans have a little bit more history than Sacramento.
You let them light their beam. Okay. Just let them have
I'm all for lighting the beam. Let's just not shove it down people's throat as much as you guys are. Let's step back just a second and realize you guys haven't accomplished anything yet. And let's show a little bit of humility. Just a little bit. You guys are on the verge of getting this Ja Morant I'm fine in the West kind of thing. And that's
Well,
it's not a good look. So let's tone it down just a notch, okay? Just a notch. I'm not asking you to go all the way to 0.
What's going to suck for them is they're going to end up with a Timberwolves or Warriors matchup and probably end up losing.
No, they'll be fine against the T-Wolves. T-Wolves are so overrated. They ruined any chance of a future they had when they traded for Gobert. And I will pound the table on that stance all day, every day. Gobert is overrated. He does nothing to put you in a direction of winning. He is so one-dimensional. And even that one-dimensional, people have figured out on the defensive end. He's not a threat like he was 3-4 years ago. So that trade ruined their chances of having a future. I don't care what Timberwolves fans say. You can come at me with, well, he hasn't played with Karl Anthony Towns and Edwards and all been on the same court at the same time, and I don't want to hear that nonsense. Gobert is not going to help you win. He is not going to advance that stat line that you need out of your players to move forward in the playoffs. He's just not. So Timberwolves are dead in the water until he's done and off that books. And by that time, Karl Anthony Towns and Edwards, we're going to be at the end of their primes. So bummer Timberwolves fans. I feel bad for you, but that was a terrible move that front office made.
That was pretty
bad. I'm not worried about the Timberwolves. Now, Sacramento fans, if you truly think you can cakewalk through Golden State, you better get ready to realize that you're the underdog. Regardless of what the numbers are going to come out and say, regardless of what Vegas might say, you will be the underdog because Golden State is still Golden State. And the only advantage you're going to have and hope that you can get past them is the fact that it doesn't sound like Andrew Wiggins is coming back. I'm going to tell you right now, if Andrew Wiggins was playing, I would see Golden State win that in 5. And that's no knock on Sacramento. That's just how good Golden State is. And they do know how to turn that switch. They are one of the few teams in sports history that can turn that switch and just go. And you've got, and people might hate me for this, but I am on this boat, and I will ride it to the island by myself if I have to. Steph Curry is at a minimum tied with Magic Johnson, in my opinion, for the best point guard of all time. At me all you want. Tell me I'm an idiot. I don't care. There are stats to back it up. There is a film that you can watch to back it up. Magic's great. I'm not trying to take anything away from Magic. I'm trying to say that's what Steph Curry has been able to accomplish in his career. And when you have somebody like that on your team, and then you've got somebody like Klay Thompson, who, by all accounts, he's almost back to form. If he's not back to form, he's at 85, 90% at a minimum. And that's dangerous. Klay Thompson is dangerous. And then Draymond's going to be Draymond. You get the bench around them. That supporting cast, they're dangerous. So Sacramento should be a little worried if you have to face Golden State in the first round.
How's this play-in go? Is it 7, 8, 9, 10, or what's the play-in?
7, 8, 9, 10. Always confuses me. 7 and 8 play each other. 9 and 10 play each other. And then the winner of 9, 10 plays the loser of 7 and 8 to see who gets the 8 spot.
That's just weird to me. If you made the 8, if you were 7 and 8, you should just be in. Like, there shouldn't be a.
I agree to an extent, but I actually like that they added this because it really does help with the tanking issues that the NBA has had over the last decade or so. It really does help with that. So I like it. And it's a 1 game. LeBron came out flat out and said he hates it, and now he's absolutely loving it because it's the only chance he has to get into the playoffs. So talk about flip-flopping and changing your tune, right? Now,
I mean, they're only technically one game out of it right now.
They're in.
1 game behind the Pelicans. Well, they're just a game behind the Pelicans, so they could be the 8th seed.
Well, but they'd still be in the play-in. They'd still be in that play-in tournament. What they need to do is get to the 6th seed and avoid it altogether, but that's not going to happen now.
Well, they're a game and a half out of that. It's possible.
I know. I just don't see them being able to, based on everybody's schedule and where they're at, I don't see them any longer being able to make that push to the 6. They might be able to get up to 7, but they could also fall all the way out. They're not in yet. Let's not get it twisted. They're not there yet. So I will say, though, as a Nugs fan and just being realistic about the situation, if the Nugs have to play the Lakers in the first round, they should be worried. They should be very worried, as a matter of fact, because the Nugs don't play consistently to just think that they can roll through the Lakers in a 7-game series. They just don't. And that pains me to say, but the Nugs had their chances to improve on the defensive side of the ball this year, and they decided to say, screw it, we're just going to play offense. They are in the bottom half of the league in defensive win shares, statistics, efficiency, whatever numbers you want to look at. Nugs are in the bottom half of the league. At one point in the season, at best, they were in the middle of the pack. Championship basketball does not come out of that category. It just doesn't. Come playoffs, you've got to be able to play both ends of the floor. Now, I know I just said offense always wins championships, and I fully believe that, but you have to be at least decent on the defensive side. Because if the other team is decent and they can play offense, and all you play is offense, that doesn't add up to winning basketball. So Nugs fans should be worried if they have to see the Lakers first round. Anybody else, they should be fine. They should be absolutely fine, no issues.
Nuggets fans should be worried about the way that again, I know he's trying to, keep his guys, where they're not on the court the whole game. But when he pulls the bench and he gives the bench extended minutes, there are times the bench is just cold shooting. Sometimes they hold their weight, and sometimes they just go cold. And that's
one of the biggest things the Nuggets had going into the season was being a deep rotation, a deep team. And the bench has been atrocious this year, to be honest with you. It hadn't even been decent. It's been just bad, just plain bad. And I said it at the trade deadline, and I'll keep saying it. Reggie Jackson is not enough. In fact, he's not even playing anymore. They did go back to Braun, which was the smart move. Based on play that he should be playing, absolutely. But they needed to make a push, and they didn't. They should have taken some of those bench guys. They should have traded the next 2 or 3 years first-round picks. They should have gotten somebody like an OG Anunoby from Toronto. When your first-round picks are going to be at the bottom of the draft in the NBA, move them. Move them. Those aren't valuable. This isn't the NFL where there's a deep pool of guys to select for the first 4 rounds. You get about 20 picks in the NBA, and after that, you start throwing darts. Getting a guy like Jokic in the second round during a Taco Bell commercial is not the commonality in the NBA. Guys coming from the second round of the draft and having prosperous all-star careers are not common in the NBA. It's not comparable to the NFL. So the fact that the NFL, the Nuggets front office did not make a big push to go get somebody who could really help move that needle, I said at the time I'm worried about it, and I still am. I still very much am. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to fare come playoff time. I'm not that worried about Phoenix. I think they're even more thin, and their bench is even worse than the Nuggets. Chris Paul is not a factor anymore, so you're really looking at Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And I think you can shut one of them down. And if you do that, Phoenix isn't going to – they may see the Western Conference Finals. May. I know a lot of people are picking them to come out of the West with a healthy Kevin Durant. I don't see it. Just like I didn't see the whole Brooklyn Nets experiment worked out. I said from the beginning that was a terrible move by the Nets. They're going to regret every second of it, and they did. And I'm going to hold true to that with the Suns. I don't think it was a smart move by Phoenix. They gave up way too much to get that little in return, in my opinion. Kevin Durant's a great player. But when you don't have anything past your starting 5, you're SOL, man, big time. And I'll also say, I was just going to say that. I was mind blown that Mark Cuban made the move for Kyrie Irving. That is one owner I thought was smart enough to not go after that. And he did. And they went from 6th in the West to out of the play-in since they acquired Kyrie. And there's a bunch of Kyrie zealots out there saying, it's not Kyrie's fault, he's playing good basketball. Then why is it everywhere he's gone, other than Cleveland with LeBron, have they not lived up to expectations? There's only one common factor in all of those situations, and it's Kyrie Irving. So you can say whatever you want about the dude's talent on the court. He is an individual street ball player who does nothing to elevate the teammates around him, period. And you can come at me with any stat you want to. Anybody with eyes can say there's one common factor with all those situations. It's Kyrie Irving, and he is, for lack of a better way to put it, he is a cancer to anybody actually being able to win and be good long term.
I'm so sad for Luka because they basically traded away a bunch of draft picks, and Kyrie's not even going to sign with them. He wants to go sign with the Lakers.
Yeah, well, if the Lakers are smart, they'll want nothing to do with that. But, you know, the Lakers haven't shown they're that smart here recently other than the moves they just made at the trade deadline, which was smart. So, you know, we'll see what happens with the West. We'll see what shakes out. Denver has a good shot to get to the conference finals. You know, Memphis has Ja Morant back. They're still a dangerous team. I would not count them out by any means.
I mean, they've won 7 straight games. So
yeah. Golden State, if Wiggins was there, I would give them a chance to come out of the West. But without Wiggins, I don't think they quite have the necessary firepower. Sacramento is a dark horse. I'm not going to count them out. They are a dark horse. And then the Clippers losing Paul George, I think that hurts. I think that pretty much ruins all their.
Is he out for the season?
I haven't heard a final decision yet, but it doesn't sound good with the knee sprain that he's got. If he misses the first round, which by all accounts it sounds like he probably will, I don't think they come out of the first round without him. So
you don't think they can beat Phoenix now?
Not if Kevin Durant's healthy. No, I don't. Kawhi on his own is not enough to carry that team. He's just not. As good as Kawhi can be when he plays, I don't think he's enough to carry them past the Phoenix. Because while Chris Paul may not be dangerous, he's still one of the best leaders in the history of the game. And I think he can do enough to get Phoenix out of the first round if they play the Clippers. Out east, I think it's Milwaukee. And I think it's Milwaukee's to lose. Let's be honest. Embiid ducking Jokic in Denver last night. He hasn't played in Denver since, I think it was 2019. And all these Embiid zealots saying, well, he busted his ass in Philly for 40 and 20 or whatever it was. And this and that and blah, 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 blah. That was one game. One game. And he had a chance to prove that he could do it again. And what did he do? He played Saturday night in Phoenix and then skipped Monday night in Denver. That was a calculated decision by that organization and Embiid to not play in the altitude and not play against Jokic because they didn't want that possibility of a loss and a dominant win by the Nuggets to have mind games with that team, which it definitely would have done. So I think it was a punk move. I think it was done on purpose. I don't think Embiid's that hurt. Otherwise, he wouldn't have played Saturday. So just a big cop-out. And guess what? Vegas felt the same way because the moment that game ended, guess what happened? His MVP odds went from winning the MVP to now Jokic back in the lead for the MVP. So I'm not the only one thinking that or saying it. That's a pretty common view, other than Embiid fans who just, let's be honest, man. The majority of Embiid fans I've seen, their whole thing is to put Jokic down to build Embiid up. It's not to give both the credit. Yeah, he went to Kansas.
He only played 1 year at Kansas, but hey, it was a good year. So
I've been saying Embiid's really good for years. I love his game, but he's getting too cocky for my liking now. Came out and basically threw shade on Jokic about how Jokic is stat padding. Like, get the out of here. And then you're talking about now you got quotes out there saying you're the best center to ever play the game. Dude, what? Hakeem would smoke you. Hakeem would smoke you. Chat would make
Hakeem
you
would
look
smoke
like his
most
little
people.
son. That's my point. And on top of all of that, Embiid, look, I'm all for confidence. I am all for self-confidence. And I know there's a fine line between confidence and cocky. But you are cocky now. And the reason I say that is because you say all these things and then you miss the amount of games you miss. You don't get to claim those titles. You got to be on the court to claim those titles.
Dude,
and when you're missing as many games as you are, shut your mouth, man. Shut it.
Ewing and Hakeem would have had him on the bench all the time from injuries because
No
they would have
doubt.
worked him.
No doubt. So I think his game's nice. But you're going to talk that smack and you're going to throw that shade and you're going to put these claims out there. You better be on the court. And when you're not, it's telling.
I was so shocked. Kendrick Perkins, who's done everything under the sun. Like Jokic's the MVP because he's white. Joker's a stat patter. Joker's this. Joker's that. Like everything he can to tear him down and lift up Embiid and Giannis, he's done that.
Yep.
And as soon as Embiid missed that game, he was like, he don't want that smoke. I was like, what? Where'd that come
Give
from?
Kendrick Perkins credit, man. Give him credit because the man stands by what he believes. And when new information comes out that says he might have to rethink it, he rethought it. And he spit that truth. So I like Big Perk. I don't always agree with him, but I like Big Perk. And the fact that he was able to say that makes me like him even more. So I think, like I said, I think it's Milwaukee's to lose. I think Boston is kind of getting overlooked a little bit, and they've got a chance. But
I mean, they're dangerous any night, man.
They are. But I said last year, if Chris Middleton plays in that series, Milwaukee beats Boston, and Boston doesn't even get to the finals. And Chris Middleton's healthy right now, so Milwaukee beats them. I don't think Philly has a prayer in the world, to be perfectly honest.
I was shocked that the Nuggets they put a fucking beat down on the Bucks with Giannis playing. Like
they did. It was a good game for the Nuggets. Now the problem is like I said earlier, consistency, and they haven't shown consistency all year. So they can go do that for one game, but can they do it for a series? I don't have that faith right now. You got New York, you got Cleveland out east. They can put some pressure on some teams, but they don't have enough to get over the top. New York's going to make some moves this offseason. I think New York's going to make some moves this offseason. They're going to be dangerous. Cleveland's young. So Cleveland's still building. Cleveland's young. They can keep moving up. This is Philly's chance. And if Philly doesn't win this year, you're going to watch that process start all over again, in my opinion. Sorry, Philly fans, but James Harden ain't getting any younger. And while he's had a nice year and he's played the point well and he's got, the assist to back it up.
He changed the way he played the game.
Sure. And if he had done that in Houston, they'd probably beat Golden State and they get probably a ring, in my opinion. If he does that with Chris Paul, but he chose not to. And he finally did it now, and it's too little too late. So I think it's Milwaukee's to lose. You got Milwaukee in the East. To me, that feels like a pretty easy decision to make. Out West, I got no clue. I honestly don't. I would love to say the Nuggets, but I don't have faith in their consistency, like I said, which leaves the door open for anyone and everyone.
So I feel like it's like 50% Nuggets, 50% the field in the West. It's kind of how I feel. Like I feel like
that might be even too much for the Nugs. I get what you're saying, but that might even be too much for the Nugs. Because, like I said, they could easily blow it in the first round of the Lakers.
I've seen them play some really good basketball when they were focusing on it, and they've played some good basketball recently. I mean, they've won 4 straight after losing like 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah.
They're gonna win Thursday because I'm gonna be in the house on Thursday. So taking Pinky Jr. to go see Joker. Last time I took Pinky Jr.
Not good.
The Nuggets, they played the Celtics, and if you remember, like even their backup white guy had he was 6 from 6 from 3-point land. Like they didn't miss that game.
Wasn't it Pritchard that just went off that game for some reason? Yeah. Yeah.
And then like Joker had an off game where he still scored like 27, but he missed like multiple like layups and like things just and again, no Murray, no MPJ.
For the Nuggets to win, and I truly believe this, for the Nuggets to win, Joker needs to be at about 22. He needs to be at about 12 to 15 rebounds, and he needs to be at about 12 to 15 assists.
So,
and that means Aaron Gordon is scoring about 15 to 20. Jamal Murray's going off for 25 to 30. Caldwell Pope is going off for about 10. And then Michael Porter Jr. is throwing in about another 25. That's the winning formula for the Nuggets. If you're expecting, and he can do it a game here and there where he goes off for the 35-40 and they can still win. But what you really need is him to be that consistent facilitator that gets you the points, getting, 8 to 12 shots a game. And you need those other two, specifically Murray and MPJ, going off. That's their winning formula.
That's you're probably about right. And during that recent losing streak, one, they didn't play great defense, but two, it was like Murray was off, KCP was off. They were still playing Reggie Jackson, and he was really off.
He hasn't looked good since they acquired him. Let's be honest.
He like his first two games. His first two games were like, oh my God, this is great. And then he's been awful. Thomas Bryant has actually been pretty good for what they need from him. But yeah, Reggie Jackson, and that's why Reggie Jackson.
I like that pickup. I thought that was a good pickup to fill that front court and give Jokic somebody to lean on when he needs a rest and a break.
So,
and if they keep him long term, that could be a good addition. But they need more consistency on the defensive end from a lot of guys. And KCP and Brown and Aaron Gordon were supposed to do that, and they were supposed to fill the lack of defense from MPJ, Murray, and Jokic, and they haven't stepped up the way they needed them to. They just haven't.
Depending on the game, certain games they have, certain games they haven't. But and that's why it's a team game, man. You guys got to do it together. Now, I think they could still get on a roll in the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for. This is the year right now. I don't think there's any dominant team in the West that I'm not really scared of any team in the West, but I think the Nuggets can beat them. I just think like the Nuggets could make the finals, and again, if they're playing the Bucks or the Celtics, like that's going to be tough. Those are not easy teams.
They're not, and that's what is so frustrating about the West in general. More specifically, SB Nuggets fans, is the Nuggets could go to the finals and win, or they could get out in the first round. And I think that can honestly be said for any of the top teams in the West, and the Lakers and Golden State, even though they're on top.
I wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams, the Grizzlies lose in the first round, the Kings, the Suns. I wouldn't be shocked at all.
No,
so
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I'm excited though. We've only got 9 games left? No, not even 9 games left. Like 2 or 3.
I think I counted 8 the other day. Let me pull it up. I want to say I counted 8 the other day. Let me see here.
So the Nuggets play on. Oh, they play Friday in Phoenix, so that's 2 games. Then they play on Sunday.
They've got 7 games left. The Nuggets have 7 games left.
7 games left. So we got to hold off the Grizzlies because they're only 3.5 back.
Yeah.
And, of course, we do play the Suns twice in that stretch. We got to beat the Pelicans. We got to beat the Rockets when we got them coming up. We play the Kings to finish the season. I was still thinking about buying tickets to that game, but if the 1 seed's wrapped up, we might not really play any of the top guys. So I don't know if it's worth going and watching.
We'll see what happens. I mean, honestly, the last Nuggets game I went to was Game 7 against Portland 3 years back, and watched them lose to Portland at home in Game 7. So that was tough to swallow.
Yeah, I actually was
That's
able
how
to
long
get
it's been since I went to a Nugs game.
I was able to get decent tickets for this one because it's the Pelicans.
I wish I could have gone with you. It just wasn't working out, unfortunately.
We'll have to get, well,
pregnant wife going into the third trimester doesn't necessarily allow for as many moving parts to go do things.
Yeah, that's typically true. Let's see. We'll do hockey. We'll do a little bit more hockey next week. Avs have been on a kind of up and down. Well, they had a win streak. They lost a game. They started another win streak. So
I don't know if we're going to touch on too much hockey next week. We got a guest coming to talk, whether people like it or not. We got some golf going down next week, and we got a special guest.
The Masters.
And then we'll have the NCAA finals to discuss because that'll be happening while we're on air, I do believe. Let me double check that. If I remember correctly.
Tuesday night or Monday night? I thought it was Monday night.
It might be Monday.
Man, that'll be good. Yeah, it should be Monday night because they play Saturday, so then they should play again Monday. Would be the right way to do it.
Usually that's what they do, but I felt like for some reason they changed it.
That's my first day back to work in over 3 weeks.
Yeah, bummer, dude.
Man. Oh man, I am every day. The days keep going faster and faster. Like I'm just like, where's the time going? And then I only work like 3 weeks, and then I'm off another week.
You're right. Monday, April 3rd. So we'll have some golf conversation with our special guest about the Masters. Next week, we'll be discussing the NCAA championship. We'll have a little bit more NBA. We'll probably have some NFL. So I think hockey's going to have to wait a little bit. Cody, sorry. But we are going to have Cody back on as soon as we get playoffs announced and we know where that seating is. So we'll get Cody back on to discuss how we need to look for the Stanley Cup.
I'll give Cody. I'll give Cody a shout out. Andy, our buddy Andy, he doesn't watch the show live, but he always listens to it like while he's working out, or he always checks it out afterwards. And he was a little behind, so he just recently caught the episode with Cody, and then the episode we had Cam on. And he was like, both those guys were awesome. He was like, Cody was a great guest for you guys, and so was Cam. So kudos to Cody. Kudos to Cam. Thanks for jumping on, guys. We appreciate your help and your knowledge and being good dudes. So
hey, we bring fire. That's just what we do, people. All right, we bring fire. If you're not going to bring fire, you're not going to be on with us. You're not going to be sipping a 2-finger and enjoying life. That's just the way it is. So either come correct or don't come at all.
So there's, oh man, I'm trying to think of NFL talk. Switching gears a little bit.
We're going to talk some NFL right now because what I want to do is, we're in between some things right now. I think what it would be fun to do right now, as I was telling you, and we can deviate a little bit here and there, but I think it'd be fun to talk about remaining free agents / trades that we would like to see or that we would think would be good fits. There's a lot of conversation going on with a couple players right now. So let's jump into it a little bit. Let's see what Pinky's thinking.
Can my man Austin Eckler get paid? Come on.
No. The simple answer is no, Pinky. And you know why? Because he's a running back in the NFL. Sorry, Austin Eckler. The only running back in the NFL is getting played is Christian McCaffrey. And you're a middle class version of Christian McCaffrey.
He needed to do this last year.
Yep.
Instead of putting up another 18 touchdowns and now being 28, I think he is. So is he worth more than $6.5 million? That's what he's making this year.
Absolutely, he is.
Absolutely. Is he going to get a team that's going to want to pay him and trade for him? Probably not.
And why is that? One, because the Chargers have no incentive to. They've got zero incentive to pay him anymore. and the teams that could use his services have draft picks that they can use to go get the new Austin Eckler, or at least something that they believe could be comparable and is 10 years younger.
He might see some more play after the draft, possibly, but most likely he's going to stay a Charger.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the dude that's going to get a lot of play after the draft is just as good, possibly maybe even a little better than Austin Eckler, but hasn't got the notoriety because of where he's played. That's Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt should get some play after the draft as well.
I'm a year younger.
He's not signed yet.
I'm actually not, only because of the draft. And teams can get him at a cheaper rate after the draft once they know what's already gone. It's just the way the NFL works with running backs now, unfortunately. But I think Kareem Hunt can do everything Austin Eckler can do at the same level, to be perfectly honest with you. He's a year younger and he's a little bit bigger. So that plays in his favor when it comes to, he's going to be available. And why would teams pay what Austin Eckler's looking for when you can get Kareem Hunt and he's going to be cheaper? I'd rather have Kareem Hunt, personally.
In my opinion, I don't know why Buffalo doesn't have Kareem Hunt on their roster right now.
It makes zero sense. I fully agree with you. Kareem Hunt and James Cook in that offense, God, that'd be a dangerous 1-2 combination. I honestly thought the Broncos would have gone after Kareem Hunt already, and he would have played the Alvin Kamara role in the Sean Payton offense. I actually thought that would have been a really nice grab. Maybe they're waiting, but once they got re-signed Latavius Murray, I think that kind of went out the window.
They haven't signed Murray yet. I'm pretty sure.
I thought they already extended him. Am I just making things up right now?
Yeah, they asked about him this week at the owners' meeting, and they said we're still looking over that. But
I thought the way Sean Payton was talking about him, he was already in.
Sean Payton made the statement during the Super Bowl week that when he was out doing all the radio shows, he was bringing him back, but they haven't signed him.
Oh, okay, my bad. Then don't. Don't get Kareem Hunt.
I think they're waiting until after the draft as well.
Let's be honest. Kansas City should be looking at bringing him back. That would be scary dangerous.
Yeah, they love guys with that, like giving a guy a second chance. So Cody, smart man.
I fully agree, Cody. I think that's Philadelphia should be looking at Kareem Hunt. I think there's a lot of teams who could take advantage of the Kareem Hunt. The dude has not had a lot of wear and tear over the last 3 or 4 years because he's been playing with Nick Chubb. He has had some injuries that kept him off the field last year. That doesn't look great, but he's 27, I believe. Not a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's dangerous out of the backfield with receiving. He can run the ball really well. I'm surprised more teams haven't grabbed him already, but now we're to the point where they're not going to grab him. They're going to wait until after the draft, see what they can do there, and then he'll get signed.
Even a team like Dallas, pair him with Tony Pollard.
Oh, my God, that would be stupid. Damn. Let's not have that happen. Let Dallas do Dallas things, and they sign Ronald Jones. Pollard will be there. They'll bring Zeke back on like a $3 million deal.
Or why not have signed Kareem Hunt in Philly versus Rashad Penny?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Like, I think Kareem Hunt's way more dangerous than Rashad Penny. So I am a little boggled that Kareem Hunt hasn't been signed yet, but at this point, it'll wait until after the draft. There's no way he's going back to Cleveland. I don't see any way that's happening.
There's a lot of dudes unsigned right now. It's crazy.
There are. Kareem Hunt's a big name on my watch list. What do you? We'll get into trades here in a second. What available would you say is on kind of the top of your watch list right now?
I mean, I know Frank Clark is still out there. Not that he's great or anything, but teams are always looking for a pass rusher.
Sure.
So for him to still be out there, Puna Ford was really good for the Seahawks last year. How he's still out there, like just certain guys, it doesn't make any sense. Maybe they overplayed their value.
I think that's one of the bigger things. Yeah,
that definitely happens out there. I mean, I'm right now as it stands, like the Broncos are definitely signing a guy after the draft, or they're drafting a running back, because they only have 2 right now. And again, they're not exactly sure when Javonte will be healthy. So
how do I want to word this? I'm concerned about Javonte Williams' injury.
I mean, anytime a running back tears an ACL, it can take some time. I mean,
I don't think it was just his ACL, though. I think there was more damage than just his ACL. I think there was more damage than just the ACL, and I am concerned because if that's the case, and by all accounts, this rehab isn't going phenomenally. You know, and I think the fact that the Broncos are openly talking about adding running back depth, I think that's kind of telling. Yeah, thank you, Cody. PCL too. I think that's kind of telling that they're slightly concerned as well about his rehab and what he might be able to come back as, and that's a bummer because that dude was on the path to stardom and top 3 running backs in the league type skill.
We still got Yannick Ngakoue. It's so fun. I mean, the Broncos didn't offer him a contract, but Dalton Reisner's still sitting out there.
I think there's a reason for that. I think
he's not as good as we thought he'd be.
No, he's looking more like he's a plug and play guy than he is a starter on your line. And that's a bummer because with him being a Colorado kid, you really hoped he was going to play out the way that everybody thought he would. He hasn't lived up to those expectations.
Frank Clark's on the list. Leonard Floyd is on the list. I think Leonard Floyd still got some good football left.
He does. He's just getting up there. And again, so you see what you can do in the draft. And then if you still need that position of need, that's somebody you can bring in afterwards. That's kind of where I think he stands.
And when you look at some of these guys, as they get to their 29, 30, that's why they got to get paid every dollar they can while they can. Because as soon as they get to that point that they're devalued, they're not going to get those big contracts. It's just not going to happen.
No, they're not. And I think more NFL players, and we're going to talk about Lamar here in a moment. I think more NFL players need to go back and look at what Kirk Cousins did. And you take that 3-year, $96 million fully guaranteed, and you take that in a heartbeat. And if you stay healthy and you play up to your expectations, then you go get another contract. And if you look at it, honestly, you're going to make more money that way than you are signing a 7-year deal with $50 million guaranteed that's incentive laden to get the rest. So take the shorter term deal with the guaranteed full contract and then go for your second, go for your third. As long as you can stay healthy, you're going to make more money that way. And more players need to start looking at that model as the way to go. That's how I feel.
So one more guy that I think really needs to be brought up, DeAndre Hopkins. We got to get him out of Arizona.
So let's get into the trades. Let's get into the trades now because he's not a free agent. He's somebody you're going to have to give up something to get. So let's start with Hopkins. First of all, Pinky, what would you say his value is? What would you be willing to give up to bring DeAndre Hopkins to your team?
Well, the problem is his contract. Well,
no, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear any. We know how I feel about contracts. You can move the numbers any way you want to.
Well, this is true, but he wants a new contract as well. So
here's what I'm telling DeAndre Hopkins. If I'm willing to trade for him, here's what I'm telling him. You want to stay in Arizona, or you want to come play for a winner? Do you want a chance to win, or you want to sit there and be a loser? You ball out, we can talk about a new contract. But you're going to come here and prove it, Neil.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who's like 30, 31. Like he's
exactly. So you come prove to me for a year that you can ball out, then we'll talk about some real money. But we're just trying to get you to a winning situation. So do you want a winning situation and a chance to get paid, or you want to stay in Arizona where they're completely blowing everything up and they're going to be trapped for a couple years?
And I think he's just on the part of his contract that most of it's not guaranteed anymore.
Yep.
So it's really just putting some guaranteed money back into the deal, and I think he'd be happy.
So I want to hear about the money. I don't want to hear about what he thinks is his value. You can have him for next year. What are you willing to give up for his talent?
I mean, I would definitely send a second round pick, or like a third and a fifth, third and a sixth, or something like that to pull him over, because Arizona wants to get rid of that money. They do. So you're
giving up a second round pick. What teams do you feel are best fit that should be doing a second round pick to grab Hopkins?
I mean, Buffalo is a team.
Oh, I like that.
They need something opposite. Gabe Davis is a good receiver.
You put Gabe Davis as your third, and you go Hopkins and Diggs. Ooh, that's scary. I like that. Okay.
The Chiefs should be in on that.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
They're running Sky Moore right now.
They're running Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney.
Right. Now, I love Toney, and I love his potential. But I think he's more of that poor man's Deebo Samuel. Do you think that's a fair comparison, where he's not going to be your true number one?
I mean,
he can be your Swiss Army.
But yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Number one.
I like that. Hopkins for a 2. Go to the Chiefs. Yep. What else? Who else do you think could do it?
The Chiefs have like 11 draft picks, so like they have the picks. I mean, he'd probably look really good in Dallas too. And again, you've got Brandon Cooks and now you've got CD, but if now that you don't have Dalton Schultz anymore, if you could give Dak that guy that's always open, like DeAndre's always open, and if he's not open, he's got like one of the best set of hands in the league.
Yeah.
Period. Like absolutely. You can just, as long as you get the ball near his hands, he will catch it.
I'm actually surprised they gave up what they gave up to get Cooks and not spend just slightly more to go get Hopkins. Because I think it would have been not much more to get Hopkins. And the only thing I can think of is the contract, which is stupid because, first of all, Jerry's got the money. Money shouldn't be something Jerry's worried about. And second of all, like I always say, you can cook the books any way you need to, baby. You can cook those books.
I don't believe Jerry when he says he will do everything and anything to win a Super Bowl in his lifetime.
No, hell no. Actions speak louder than words, and Jerry's actions say the exact opposite of what's coming out of his mouth. Now, for sure. I'm with you.
I do say within the last 5 to 6 years, they've probably been a little bit more savvy with their money overall, but they usually overpay their own players versus going out and getting players. And I think that's been, they're like the opposite of Green Bay. Green Bay drafts everybody and they don't worry about free agency. Green Bay will let people go, like whatever. Like Dallas is just like, no, we drafted you. You play good for us. We're going to overpay you to stay with us, but we're not going to really worry about bringing anybody else in. Like they don't play like the whole spectrum.
Here's a dark horse for you.
I got to see DeAndre out a winner.
So I'm going to give you what I believe will be a winner. And I think adding him is better than the option that's being thrown around. That's the Jets. I would actually say give up what you got to get Rodgers, which I still think the Jets have all the power in that situation. I think Green Bay has lost any power they had whatsoever. And I'll run through it again and why I believe that. You're not bringing Aaron Rodgers back. You cannot allow him to still be on the roster when mandatory minicamp starts because he will show up, and if he shows up, he's QB1. And all the players on that team will know Well, Aaron Rodgers is still on this team. He needs to be starting over Jordan Love. Period. End of story. So you can't bring him back for that reason. 2, you can't bring him back for $50 million that is on his, or 60 now, isn't it? It's 60 this year. You cannot bring him back on $60 million. Green Bay, listen up. You want to think you're smarter than everybody else. You're that dude in the room who thinks you're smarter than everybody else, and you're not. You have ruined all leverage you've had in this situation. So if the Jets are kind enough out of their hearts to say, you know what, we'll give you a third. Shut up, take it, and be done with the situation because you have no leverage at all. Take whatever the Jets are willing to give you right now, move Aaron Rodgers, move on with your life.
Well,
the Jets had the picks that they could grab Aaron Rodgers. They could grab DeAndre Hopkins in a trade, and that's scary to put opposite of who? Garrett Wilson.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just don't think the Jets are going to do that. I think they believe in.
Let me say this. With that defense, you do have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion. He's going to be on that team one way or the other. You have Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Lazard as your 3. The backfield that they have, do you have them as a Super Bowl contender? Would you have them as a Super Bowl contender?
That's the problem, is they paid Allen Lazard. If they had not paid Allen Lazard, they could have absolutely gone out and gotten Hopkins. But,
dude, Hopkins is worth the 1-year rental in that situation, though, to win a Super Bowl. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, it just depends on what kind of money he's looking for. I don't know.
Take him for the 1-year rental and go win a Super Bowl. I would be. Well, we know how I feel about the 1 in 10 years, though, right? I'm good with winning a Super Bowl once every 10 years and then completely rebuilding the other 9. I think that's a great business model. Some people disagree. A lot of people disagree, but I think that's a beautiful business model.
Well, again, if you have the opportunity to go win multiple, based on like if you have a Mahomes, a once in a generation quarterback, then you're set. Like you don't have to go all in. Like you're gonna go multiple times, right? But if you're not, if you just have, hey, I've got a really good defense, I've got a pretty damn good offense right now, let's go get it done, right? The Rams did it, like that worked out. You know, that's the Broncos did it. I mean, we got Peyton, and it worked out, right? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that as well. If you get the ring, right? If you get the ring, that's all that matters. But we've got enough examples of people trying to go all in and not make it in a ring.
It doesn't work. I agree. But again, the way you can cook the books, I think you could get DeAndre for a couple years. You could get Rodgers for a couple years, and that team is so young around them that I think you become competitive for the next.
Could you figure it out? Yeah, you could probably figure it out to get Hopkins on there. You could do that. That's a good spot for him. I don't think they're going to do that at all, though.
That's fair. Now,
I don't think that's in there. Like psyche. Now, Hopkins, the other team that kind of says, you know what? And this is a little crazy.
Ooh, you know how I feel about crazy. Give it to me. Give it to me, Pinky. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on.
The Minnesota Vikings need Hopkins.
I was thinking that too. I like that.
And the Giants need Hopkins.
Oh, yes. That would be sneaky good, Pinky. The other New York team. Ooh. Daniel Jones continues to improve. If he can take another step forward like he did this last year, you throw Hopkins on there. They go draft some more offensive line. Oh, that's sneaky good.
And look, he needs to get out of Arizona. Arizona is going to get the number 1 pick next year.
You keep saying that, and I don't disagree with you.
Bro, I'm writing that check now. Like,
we putting some futures on that? Are we throwing some futures on that right now, Pinky?
As soon as DraftKings has it, I will put $50 on that.
I like it. I like it.
I absolutely believe, like, they've lost a couple good defensive players, J.J. Watt, Zach Allen. They've lost Kyler's not going to play.
So what? October at the earliest, maybe? Maybe?
Kyler can't run. He will not be able to run when he comes back from ACL.
Cody, yes, sir. We're all on that, man. We're all taking that futures, baby.
I believe the Arizona Cardinals will have the number 1 pick, and they will take Caleb Williams.
No.
They will eat that Kyler money. They will eat that Kyler money, and they will trade him. And I don't know if they can even trade him. I don't know if anybody wants him.
Oh, man, that would be wild, Pinky. Normally, you're keeping a list of my predictions. I'm marking that one down right now. That's a wild one. I like it.
Do we need to write that down?
Write it down, Pinky. I like it. I like it, my man.
So, I just...
Oh, look at our boy Cody's going real cray-cray. Bombs being dropped tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean,
what do we used to do? What was it? Pew, 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 pew. Hot takes left and right. Pew, pew, pew.
If Kyler gets cut, he's still getting like $120 million. Like, he gets cut, so.
Oh, wow. That would be a bold move by Arizona. That would be a bold move. Okay.
And I don't think Kyler plays next year. I don't.
I honestly think we see him back in November. That's my thought. Because by all accounts, from what I've heard, his rehab's going really well right now.
But he tore everything.
I know. Some dudes just heal and bounce back better than others. And by all accounts, Kyler's one of those dudes.
But let's be honest, at least in his previous offense, he had to run to be successful.
Well, let's be honest. I was a big Kyler Murray guy. And I at one point did say he was going to be the best running quarterback in the NFL, even better than Lamar.
And he's damn close. He was damn close.
And I think we're going to get to that in a second. I saw your eyes. I saw it too. Wait. I think Cliff Kingsbury didn't do him any favors. I think you put Lamar with Philly, and he does even more than Hurts did this last year. And that's only because he has a little bit more experience. Not because I think he's better than Jalen Hurts by any means.
I think Hurts has got a better arm, in my opinion.
I think they both come out of the Oklahoma tree. One won a Heisman, the other one's a Heisman finalist. I think you put him in an offense that uses his talents better and then has the talent around him that Philly had compared to what he was with Arizona. I think you see some really amazing things. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury did him any favors.
So that would be like, hey, Colts, grab somebody for this year.
Nope, because I got ideas for the Colts. We're going to get to that here in the next couple of weeks.
They could trade for Kyler Murray, and the OC from the Eagles is now the head coach of the Colts.
I get that, but I Colts should be on the phone for Lamar right now, and I'm going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to that in a second. But Bubba, that's a nice transition for us, my guy, because there's no way Tennessee does that because it doesn't make any sense for Tennessee. And honestly, it doesn't make any sense for Arizona. But the value's there. I like the thought on the value. But I don't think it makes any sense for either team to grab either one of those guys because they're not in positions to make that feasible and work. The reason I say it's a nice transition for us is because Derrick Henry's the next guy I want to talk about. And I think you can acquire Derrick Henry for actually like a second and a fourth. And there's some teams out there that I think that's feasible and should be your first option. One of those teams being Philadelphia. I know Philly just grabbed Rashard Penny, and they talked about how they like their room now. I'd go give up a second and a fourth right now from Philadelphia to go put Derrick Henry in my backfield. I think Buffalo is another interesting one. I think if you can get Henry for a second and a fourth, I think Buffalo should be knocking that door down. I said last year Buffalo should have given up a first before the draft even started, and they should have gone and gotten Christian McCaffrey. So I think Philly should be looking at, if you can get Henry for a second and a fourth, Philadelphia should be eating up Derrick Henry all day. Do you have any other thoughts for a Derrick Henry move, Pinky?
Derrick Henry. I mean, obviously, you want a team that runs the ball. The Patriots run the ball. I don't see.
Yeah, but they got Stevenson. Does that make sense for them? That's where does that make sense?
Like Stevenson's good and all. He's not Derrick Henry though. Like if you want to, with Bill O'Brien back running the offense, if you want to protect Mac Jones, you put Derrick Henry back there. That changes everything.
Sure,
like
sure.
Philly's the best spot for him, without a doubt. Like Philly's the best spot. I don't know if Philly can afford it because they're trying to figure out how to pay Jalen Hurts as well. I know we can cook the ball.
I'll throw out a dark horse, and this might surprise people. I think San Francisco should be looking at that because Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry could be on the same field at the same time with Deebo Samuel.
Dude, the 49ers, after they got all their comp picks, they have so many picks. They're just going to draft a running back that Shanahan likes, bro. They're not going to.
I know they are, but let's talk about with having that many picks, you got money to burn there, if you will. You can give up some of those picks, and it doesn't hurt you at all, and you add even more firepower to that offense. With the Shanahan offense, you put Derrick Henry back there, you run Christian McCaffrey at the same time, you run Deebo, you run Kittle, you run Ayuk. Oh, boy. That'd be scary.
I mean, you're not wrong, my man. Just that's just not what's going to happen.
But
no,
I'm gonna. So Pinky's on the same boat. I'm gonna disagree, and this is why. Your Browns should be taking advantage of the fact that they have the best running back in the NFL. And Pinky, I've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 years. Chubb's my man. I think he is the most talented running back in the NFL. The Browns need to start taking advantage of that. And if that means running him into the ground, so be it. You want to win as the Browns, you put Chubb as a 3-down.
Period. End of story. Done. And you let that man go to work. So I don't think it makes sense for the Browns because I think they already have a better running back. Now, I will say that there's an argument to be made that Christian McCaffrey is a better running back as well. However, Christian McCaffrey can play anywhere on the field. He can play the slot. You could put him out wide. You could put him in the backfield. That's not Chubb's game.
Let's be honest. When Christian McCaffrey's done running between the tackles, you can literally just line him out in the slot and he'll be just as good.
Absolutely. So you can't play Chubb and Henry on the field at the same time. And I think that's why it wouldn't be feasible for the Browns to go after that. That's my thought. So does that pretty much sum up where we think we're Henry options? I mean, the ones that truly make sense, that's about it, right? It's not a big deal.
Technically, because the Chiefs have a lot of draft picks, the Chiefs could be an option.
I like that, actually. That's true. The Chiefs should be in on it, too. But other than that, Buffalo, Philly, Chiefs, and I think San Francisco's a dark horse, but I like those 4 options. Other than that, I don't really see a reason for anybody else to be going after him.
I'm trying to think. I only want to see Derrick Henry on a winner. I don't want to put him with a team that's kind of like finding their way.
Rebuilding or something. Because that's what Tennessee is right now, right? So there's no point.
They think they're better than they are. They're not.
Could Seattle be a little dark horse possibly?
Not with Kenneth Walker, man. Kenneth Walker's the truth, man.
I agree, but does that help you preserve him for a few extra years? Not put as much wear and tear on him and let Henry do some of that hard work?
Nah, man, they're not thinking Super Bowl next year. Like they're not thinking that.
I think maybe they should. They got the draft capital this year to put them in that conversation, I think. I truly believe. Now, I'm not saying they should be a favorite, but I think they could honestly be a dark horse to be in that running, make a run.
But if you're all in.
Oh, that's an interesting thought, Cody. I love Etienne. I'm a huge Etienne guy. I think he's more talented than Najee Harris. I said that coming out of the draft. But that would be interesting because Etienne is similar to McCaffrey
So
in the fact that he's dangerous catching the ball.
I'm
You put Henry in that backfield, that might be interesting.
I'm gonna throw another one for a team that should be all in. Dallas.
I've thought about that, Pinky. I have thought about that. That is interesting.
They won't do it. They won't do it.
No, they won't. But that is interesting. That would make sense.
Pollard's really great when he's not the guy that you're like.
Pollard
you don't
cannot
wanna
be your
rely on
workhorse.
Pollard.
I agree. If you want Pollard to be Pollard, he cannot be your workhorse, period. He can't do 25 plus touches a game. He needs about 15-ish, and that's where he's the most dangerous. So I agree Dallas could be interesting as well. The big one, and we can kind of close it on here, and this will, I'm sure, lead to other options of discussion. But Lamar Jackson. Now, let me kind of paint a picture here, Pinky. Give me just a second to paint a picture, and then I'll let you run with it for a moment. First off, with the news coming out yesterday that Lamar Jackson requested a trade on March 2nd, and then a few moments later, guess what happened? They put the non-exclusive tag on him from Baltimore. I don't think that's a coincidence. Here's what I think is interesting. If you're a team and you are interested in Lamar Jackson, but you're worried, as we've talked about in weeks past, that you put an offer sheet out and Baltimore's just going to match it, but they could wait until, I believe it's July 17th to match it. So that affects your books going forward as that team that put the offer sheet out. And it affects you in free agency. It affects you with the draft. It causes issues with your books until Baltimore either matches it or declines. It's collusion, man. It's flat out collusion.
Well,
now, hang on. I'm gonna paint this picture fully, and then I'm gonna let you run with it. Bear with me, my man. I apologize, but bear with me here. The interesting thing is, let's be honest, signing him to an offer sheet and giving up 2 firsts has to be cheaper than outright trading for him. So in that sense, then there's no way Baltimore allows you to put an offer sheet and they don't match, because then they're losing value. Whereas if you just trade for him, you're going to have to give up more than just 2 firsts. So now you're sitting here, Atlanta, Indy, I think should be really high on him. Washington, and maybe the only reason Washington's not doing it right now is because new ownership's going to come in here soon. Does new ownership like Lamar Jackson enough to go after it and give him the fully guaranteed and just give up the 2 firsts? I think this is an insanely interesting situation. And to be perfectly honest with you, if I'm Indy, I'm jumping all over this. And I'm going to give him a contract that is fully guaranteed, that forces Baltimore's hand. You give up the 2 firsts, you sign him to the deal, and Indy instantly becomes a Super Bowl contender.
So
go.
No team is going to do that until after the draft.
Why?
Indy's not giving up number 4. They're not.
Why?
Because if you sign him after the draft and you have to give up next year's pick, and you think with Lamar Jackson you're going to be in the playoffs, that pick's in the 20s. So why there's multiple teams that I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to trade for him or sign him now, because you can sign him in May, in June, and July, right? He has until a certain time to sign that non-exclusive tag. So you have until then to sign him. And if you're a team that's like, well, let's see what we can do in the draft, and then we can sign him. Now, again, you're playing Russian roulette. Because if you sign him and then the Ravens match, you don't have a quarterback, right?
Nope.
So it's risky. But for me, if I'm the Colts, I'm not giving them number 4. I'll take Anthony Richardson and run with it, right? I'll take Will Levis and run with it.
Easy. We're going to do our draft. We'll do our mock here. Let's not give away too much of our inside information.
But that's just kind of like, I'm not giving them number 4. But if I can give them a pick in the 20s, I feel a lot better about it, right?
Fully agree. Fully agree. Now, what's Washington's excuse?
I think one, Daniel Snyder doesn't want to go put money in escrow right now when he's trying to sell the team.
Yep.
Flat out.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't make any sense for him. He's like, you know what? I'm selling. I don't want to put any money out there that I don't have to. I'm just going to get my $6 billion and move on.
Yeah, because even if new ownership comes in, he's still got to pony up some of that money because he signed the deal.
The Redskins pick is in the teens. Would I give that for Lamar? Sure.
Hell yeah.
Sure. And next year's pick too, right?
That's why it's going to be interesting to see if this ownership comes in before the draft.
I'm not so big on the collusion part of it. I just think there's some again, we don't know what Lamar Jackson's asking for. It's hard to pay a guy $200, $250 guaranteed when you've played 12 games the last 2 seasons. You know, right or wrong. Also, again, we know his previous offense did him no favors. No wide receivers. No. He didn't have a DeAndre Hopkins, right? He didn't have anybody that's consistently open that he can just go, he's going to be open, I can throw him the ball, right? So we don't know what he can do, but it's a big risk to bet on what you think he might be able to do versus what you've actually seen him do.
And while I like Indy, let's be honest, Washington is probably set up the best right now to just grab him and win and be a dark horse Super Bowl contender. You got McLaren, you got De'Ami Brown, you've got Dotson. You've got a couple running backs now with Gibson, who is kind of a Swiss Army knife now in that offense, and Robinson. That offense could roll real quick with Lamar Jackson, and that seems like it could be honestly the perfect fit. But like you said, Daniel Snyder's not putting that money in escrow before he sells the team. Hell no. So, and then you've got Atlanta. I'm amazed. Honestly amazed that Arthur Blank hasn't come out and said, yeah, we're interested, but let's look at the big picture here. Like, there are certain reasons why it doesn't make sense for us, but there are certain reasons why
he put out something today at the owners meeting about it.
Oh, I missed that. What'd he say?
Because they were asking him well, you were in on Deshaun Watson, and he actually mentioned Lamar not playing, the full season the last 2 years, and I'm just like, now again, they weren't willing to give Deshaun the full guarantee again. Deshaun is in Atlanta. If Cleveland doesn't pick up the phone and say, you know what, we'll give you $230 million guarantee. What do you think now?
The only reason Watson's in Cleveland is because they stepped up and said, we'll give you all of it. That's it. And that's the only way they were getting him. So, it makes sense. But Atlanta.
Does Lamar make sense in Atlanta with a coach who wants to run the football, play good defense? Like, it makes sense.
Indoor dome.
Indoors.
I think Algier as a running back is a little bit underrated.
Lamar.
He could be good with Lamar. You've got Pitts and London already sitting there.
Well, just like Michael Vick when Michael Vick was in Atlanta, he was a god. Lamar would be a god in that stadium and that community. He does so many good things in the community.
Well, let's be honest. And I think even you'll agree with this. At this stage in their careers, Lamar's a better thrower of the football than Vic was.
I wouldn't go that far.
What?
I would not go that far.
Dude, Vic didn't learn how to read a defense until he got to Philly after he came out of prison.
I'm not sure Lamar still knows how to read a defense yet.
Pinky. Come on now.
Michael Vick has arm talent that I've not seen very often. Period.
I'm not talking about throwing it 75 yards.
Yeah.
Vic had probably one of the strongest top 5 arms in NFL history. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about somebody who could read a defense and throw the football. And I think Lamar is head and shoulders above where Vic was at this stage of their careers.
Look, 2 of the best all-time throwers of the football or guys who could throw it a long ways, both got put on a Dan Reeves football team, right? Or maybe it was Jim Moore by then. I don't remember. Maybe it was Dan Reeves. They weren't doing him any favors, okay? If you put Michael Vick with Andy Reid from the start, Michael Vick's in the Hall of Fame right now.
Possibly. And the only reason I say possibly is because Vic himself has come out and said he didn't watch film at all. And he had no desire to watch film at all. It wasn't until he got out of prison that he really decided, I gotta work on my craft. So I don't know if just having Andy Reid as a coach changes that thought process for him. Because as an individual, he didn't feel the need to do it. So regardless of whether or not the coach can coach you to it, if you're not willing to do it, it doesn't change anything.
I'm a Vic guy, man. Like, you won't get me off that
hill. I love Vic. I'm a huge Vic guy. But I got to listen to the man himself. And when the man himself comes out and says, it didn't matter who was in my ear, I wasn't listening to it, I think that says a lot about where his mind frame was at first. And until he has that situation where the game was taken away from him and he realizes, now I got to work on my craft, I don't know if anybody would have been able to get in his ear at that time to change that thought process. So while I agree, if he had done that from the beginning, regardless of who his coach is, you're talking about a top 3 quarterback all time. I fully believe that. If he had worked on his craft from the very beginning, we're talking about a top 3 quarterback all time because of, like you said, the arm talent. But even coming out of college, Vic was never known for being able to read a defense and dissect it and throw the ball. Lamar had some of those skills. It's part of the reason he won the Heisman, because he threw for 3,000, he ran for 1,000 kind of thing. Vic didn't do that coming out of college. So I fully believe at this stage in their careers, Lamar is a better thrower of the football when it comes to dissecting the defense and deciding where the ball needs to go. But again, let's be honest. Lamar has had Mark Andrews. And if you only have one guy that you can throw the ball to, it doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to read defenses and throw it to somebody when anybody else you're going to throw it to is going to fail you. You know what I mean? Like that's my assessment of the situation.
He's in a tough spot, man. They haven't done him any favors. He's worth more to the Ravens than any other team right now. That's one of the biggest issues. I don't think he's going anywhere, man. I think he's playing for the Ravens this year.
I believed that a week ago. Now, honestly, I don't see any way he steps back on the field in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. I honestly believe now that if it comes down to that and the Ravens force his hand, he's going to sit. I truly believe that now. And that's wild to me. That is absolutely wild to me because I don't know if he can necessarily afford to take a year off. But I don't ever.
Well, they still own his rights for next season. I mean, it would be the same thing again.
I know, Pinky. I know. I think the Ravens have done him so dirty, and now they're going even worse where they're doing things. I fully believe they are doing things behind the scenes to devalue this man. That I don't think he'll ever step back on the field for that organization again. I hope I'm wrong because I would rather see him play for a team he doesn't want to play for than sit out a year.
I don't want a guy going out there and half-assing it. The story, the word and the reports are throughout the year, he was not involved mentally in meetings.
Right.
He was not all in, and I get it. And I know Damani would normally jump in and talk about, if a guy doesn't have a guaranteed contract and there's a chance that, again, he's already played for he's still got good money from the Ravens because he was a first-round pick, but he didn't get great money. He wasn't in a Dak situation, but
yeah, he
basically gave them 5 years of pretty cheap quarterback pay that they didn't have to pay for, right? He's due that money. And again, to me, if you didn't want to pay him last year, and you didn't want to pay him this year, why did you play games with him? You should have tried trading him last year. Like, you're just playing games with the guy.
Well, no, I'm tired of hearing this. Well, they built their offense around him. The hell they did. If they built their offense around him, they would have gotten him some weapons. And dude, I got frustrated as hell when I heard the GM come out and say, well, we've tried to draft some receivers and they just haven't worked out. Dude, the receivers you drafted, if that's the evaluations you had that those guys were going to work out, you are trash. And the fact that you still have a job is a miracle. And then I saw a hilarious meme the other day. Lamar Jackson decided he was done with the Ravens when he saw them sign Nelson Aguilar. That was it. When he saw that signing, he said, nope, never playing for you again, because that proves to me you guys are worthless. And I agree with him. And I actually think Bateman could be a legit number one. I think Bateman had an argument that he might have been one of the, if not the best receiver coming out in his class, talent-wise. But let's be honest, when you can't stay on the field and you can't be available to prove it, you don't mean nothing. And he hasn't been able to stay on the field to prove it. So again, Lamar Jackson was working with Mark Andrews. And you know as well as anybody, Pinky, how do I feel about J.K. Dobbins? What do I think?
He's awesome.
Oh, he's amazing. But guess what he's not doing? Staying on the field. So you can't even give him a running back to work with to help him out. So people sit here and say, oh, he's just a running quarterback. He can't throw the football. Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. The man has to run the ball because he doesn't have any other options to do anything with. So, you know what? Baltimore, shut up, man. You have done this man no favors. Your offensive coordinator that you had for him that was so brilliant and built an offense around him was trash play calling.
So
Greg Roman was trash.
If I'm a team that needs a quarterback, I don't know what he wants. How much money guaranteed does he want? I think that's the issue. What is that number? Because 2 first-round picks for a franchise quarterback is more than, that's actually a discount.
That's cheaper than Russell Wilson.
That's a discount.
Hell yeah.
That's worth giving, but how much does he want? Right? That's the issue. And since
I would look at Lamar and I'd say, hey, let's do this. I will give you let's say a 4-year deal. I'll give you a 4-year deal, 150 fully guaranteed. If I'm Lamar, I would be seriously considering that.
I mean, that's basically what Kyler and Russell got.
And it's guaranteed. It's fully guaranteed. You're getting all of that money no matter what happens. And guess what? By the end of that contract, how old are you? 31? Shit, do it again. But next time the market's gone up, salary cap's gone up, now we'll do another 4-year deal at 190 guaranteed. Be smart about this. I don't think Lamar's done himself a lot of favors. I am very much on the Lamar side of this, but I think he could have done this differently and still worked out the same resolution. And I don't think he's thinking as many big picture options as he should be thinking.
And again, for us fans, we just don't know what is he asking for. Because according to the Ravens, they offered him 3 years, $133 million, which is 40-something a year, guaranteed. Which again, after 3 years, you get to come back to the table, right?
Now I've heard they said 5 years, close to 250 with 133 guaranteed.
So I saw it was 3 years, $133 million, but there was like a team option for extra years at a certain
time. And I'm not touching that. Right. If I'm Lamar, I'm not touching that after the way they've handled this whole situation. Why would you give the team any options, right? I mean, let's be honest.
to me, it just looks ugly right now for both sides.
Agreed. Agreed.
And I'd like a resolution. I'm not the biggest Lamar guy. I think I can agree with you, which doesn't happen all the time, that they haven't done him any favors. So at least I definitely can agree with that. They haven't put an offense conducive to throwing the football. They haven't put any wide receiver weapons out there. We don't know if he can do it because he hasn't. They just haven't had him do it. You know,
like I'll be the first to admit, and Pinky, I don't mind admitting I was wrong. I will eat my crow if I have to. If he had the weapons that Hurts had, or Allen had, or Trevor Lawrence even, not quite the talent, but they went out and did something for him, and then he did the same thing he's been doing, I'd be the first one to say, look, Lamar, you had a chance to prove that you could do these things. You didn't quite do what we needed you to, so you're not worth that top tier. But they haven't even done that to find out.
And again, that's where it's a gamble on their side too, though. If we're going to change it up, because they got rid of Greg Roman. He's not there anymore. If we're going to change up this offense, I don't know if you can do it because I haven't had you do it. That's a big gamble to give up 200 to 250 million guaranteed, right?
True, but just changing the offensive coordinator and thinking that's going to be the difference, that doesn't work if you don't have the weapons to run the offense, right? Like, you still have to have the weapons.
And Nelson Aguilar, right?
Yeah, like, oh, yay! Devin Duvernay, woo!
And their first round pick, they'll probably draft an O-lineman. So,
and that's fine. Like, you and me are very much on the same boat there, where you build from the trenches, and that's how you truly build a competitive winner. Because you can have a great quarterback, but if you don't protect him and you don't have weapons for him, it's not going to mean anything. So you have to build before you can expect big things from that guy. But man, like, and where they pick, like, unless you're going to take Njigba and you think he's going to be the savior, which I think he's really good, but I don't know if he's a true number one, like, on that level. I don't. That doesn't solve your problems either. So, you know what? Here's something we didn't mention, and maybe we should have. If you can find a way to get Lamar under contract and you can find a way to right the ship, go grab DeAndre Hopkins. 1 year rental the shit out of that, and let's find out if Lamar really is worth it.
Does DeAndre Hopkins want to go to Baltimore, though?
Again, here's the thing. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't have any say on what happens. He doesn't have a no-trade clause. If somebody wants to pay for a 1 year rental from him and see what happens, he doesn't get to decide. But you know what? He 1 year rentals in Baltimore, and Lamar blows up and shows everybody he can throw the football, and DeAndre has another 10-touchdown, 1,000-yard season. That's a good way to prove to both those dudes that you can pay them some money long-term and win, right? I mean, let's be honest. That would get both those guys happy.
I'm starting to feel bad for Lamar, and that just makes me feel bad.
Never in my wildest dreams. Cheers, my guy. Cheers. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're leaving. We're done. We are absolutely done. I can't think of a better way to end the show right now. Pinky, give your little spiel, and I'll do mine.
Hey, everybody. Like, subscribe. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook. Check out all the great shows on the MHRT network. We've got the 5280 podcast, the Cluster Puck podcast, mainly Broncos Breakdown with Old Man Bill. Got the
AFC West.
They got the AFC West show as well. That's the only show I haven't checked out yet. I gotta check that one out. We got the BPA podcast, Best Player Available. They did a mock draft. They do a lot with the draft. Got a lot of shows going on, man. Check them all out. They're fun. They're run by good people, fun people. I don't think they argue as much as me and you. I think that's the one thing that most of the shows lack is every once in a while I will tell you to go F yourself.
Well, Look, I know I'm not always easy to get along with. It is what it is, right? Like, it just is. I appreciate my guy for sticking with me. Pinky's right. Check them out. We are privileged to be a part of this network. We appreciate the love that they've shown us to invite us in. And on that note, talking about love, we've ended the show the same for every segment that we've ever done. You know what? We are big on family and friends and the people close to you, whether they're blood or not, that inner circle. Do not take that for granted. Cherish it. You have the free time. Grow those relationships. Love those relationships. Make sure the people you are close to know how you feel about them. This is my guy, all right? Pinky is my dude, and I love the man. I love my family. I love my friends. Let them know how you feel. Take advantage of those opportunities to spend that quality time with them. We appreciate all of you. We appreciate the support. We're out.
Unsung narrative, young, dumb American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing, this flagrant.